Hey, I'm Natalie Potts, and this is the Natalie Potts podcast. If you want to talk about your business, your life, your health, and more, then you are in the right place. We do it all with humour, love, and inspiration to help you create a life you love. So, let's dive in. On today's episode, I'm talking about the power of taking risks in your business. So, this is insights of taking action and making bold moves. So over the last few weeks, I've been to a couple of networking events. Now, they're called networking events, is what we know them as, but what I like to call them is about really around connection. Okay, so connection events, because ultimately this is what we're doing. We're connecting with other people and we're building a relationship potentially. And I want to break a lot of the elements down because I hear a lot of people saying, I need to get out to networking events. I'm going to this one. But I'm like, but what are you getting from it? Everything I do in business is strategic and intentional. You've got to be making sure that this is always what you're doing, because time is our most valuable asset. And if we are spending time in the wrong places, we won't be getting in the right conversations and we won't be bringing new clients into our business. And we're ultimately not going to be making any money. And we're here to make money, have a revenue. And anybody that says that we shouldn't be doing that, or we're too money driven, then you're doing a charity. And sometimes that can be really tough to hear and quite direct, but it's true. And you just need to ask yourself what you want. I want you to come away from this episode feeling really focused about how you go out and connect. And if you want to say the word, network. So the two events I went to one was called PerformX, and it was in the fitness industry. So I love anything in the fitness industry, and I used to follow so many coaches a couple of years ago. In fact, my first coach when I left my coaching diploma was in the fitness space. He was helping PTs transition from gyms to running their own businesses online. And I intentionally worked with him because I wanted to work with someone in a different industry, and he was so tenacious. He was so aspirational, ambitious, and that really was so attractive. So I wanted to be in his world and saw what he was doing and find my own way in that. And I'm very conscious of saying copy. I think too many people copy, but definitely model and look at what went well for him, what worked well for me from that, and also likewise what didn't. So I spent time with Chris for about 2 years actually as a coach. Within 4 months, he brought me into his business. I was coaching his fitness coaches on personal development and mindset, because I absolutely loved personal development, and I always have. It was always my strength in my corporate career, and I continue to make sure I focus on it when I'm working with clients now. We always work on a split of strategy and mindset, because you cannot have either or. You got to have the two. We are constantly growing, and we've got to make sure that our mindset is the priority. I don't believe you can truly build a sustainable business if you haven't got the right mindset. So going back to this idea of taking power of taking risks, I want to position this quote here by Tony Robbins. And I love a quote, and I love Tony Robbins stuff. He said, "Live life fully while you're here. Experience everything. Take care of yourself and your friends. Have fun. Be crazy. Be weird." I love the last part. But it was a quote that I came across a few days ago at an event I was in London. And it's just made me reflect and think about everything I've done the last few weeks. It's been major busy. I haven't been in a business as such, but I know the power in getting out there, feeling inspired. That energy you get from being around people that are like-minded just inspires you and just fulfills you with a drive to keep focused, keep passionate about what you do, tap into your why, keep going when it gets tough. And you can't buy that. So the event I went to a couple of weeks ago had some incredible people there. It had Stephen Bartlett was the main headliner, and he was one of the reasons I wanted to go. And then an array of different people. One of the coaches there was a guy called Phil Graham. He's from Ireland. I've known him for years and followed his stuff. He's built an incredible business. He also is on the mastermind of a guy I was part of his program quite a few years ago, actually, taking more in Australia. He's the $1 Million Coach. And he was sharing about vision and the foundations that you have in business. And he asked everybody in the audience to raise their hand if they have a vision for the next 3 to 5 years. 5 of us put our hand up. And I was like, I self-doubt myself. I hold myself back for silly things when I'm clearly miles ahead of most people around me. And it was just one of the most moments, not to big myself up, but to think about, stop holding back, keep going for it, stop being vanilla, get out there and go for it. So that was an incredible event, and I'm going to draw upon some of the themes I took from Stephen Bartlett's presentation alongside the themes from the event I've just been to over the last few days, which is the Expert Empires event in London. Now, I'm actually conscious of sometimes sharing what I do, because what I've noticed is that people just follow me and then they have to immerse themselves in everything I do. And I love that. But you've got to find your own way. Stop copying people and get out there and take your own steps, make your own journey, because your success will not be the same as theirs. It will never, ever be the same. And I think far too often people think, if I do that, I'll get it. What I do know is that, yes, that's more likely to be true. I obviously invest heavily in amazing mentors and coaches myself, but fundamentally I take all the principles I learn and I make it my own. I know that works for me, that doesn't. I like that, I don't like that, and I'll make my own steps. Okay, I will model things, I'll never copy. And I think sometimes it's really easy to copy people, and one, it's not cool, and two, it's actually not going to fulfill you, because it won't mean the same thing. It won't completely be from your internal perspective, view, passion, drive. Okay, it's got to come with it from within. There was another lady there called Emma Story Gordon, who's phenomenal on socials, and she shared a couple of books, and she spoke about this idea of expectation, and she spoke about giving. And one of the books she shared was by Bob Berg. Now, I did some work with Bob Berg a year ago and read his book for the first time, The Go Giver, after being recommended it, and it's incredible. It's the idea of the art of reciprocity. I can't even say that word, but you know what I mean. If you go and look at it, it's like the law of it, and it's heavily featured in How to Win Friends and Influence People. So go and have a look at this idea, but it's very much about, in essence, when you give to others, you get back. Okay, so start by giving more, and the world responds to you in a way that is incredible. And I'm going to share exactly how this experience has happened to me recently. So at the event the last 2 days in London, I again got to network and connect with so many amazing people. So many I know from the mastermind I've been on, so many that have seen me on socials, which I love when people come and say hello, and just by getting out there. And I was at this event for the first time last year because I wanted to go and see Lewis House. I'd followed him for so many years, listened to his podcast, and I was so inspired by him. And I was sitting at this event, and yeah, I'm honest, like, he was one of the reasons I went. I'd never heard of this guy called Nick James, and it was amazing. It was so incredible. And I sat there and was like, nah, it's a sales gig. Do not get taken in by it and everything. Well, by the end of the 48 hours or the 2 days, I signed up. I was on the mastermind, right? 12 grand in. I was like, yeah, I need this. And I sat there literally and said those words, shit, I need this. So I'm now literally today a year into that mastermind. I had my last event with them, or event I say day, where we do strategy and business with Nick James himself, and that's this week. So it's it's the anniversary of a year. It's the anniversary of being bold and making a big decision. And what I took away the other day was 3 things I want you to focus on. 3 things that I want you to start being bolder on. I want you to really think about this idea of risk, because as I've shared before with Nick, I was fortunately on the panel last year in September where I shared my journey, and that was a great opportunity again to be speaking, and it's something I'm looking more into over the next year. You know, that's my year's goal, is to get out there and share my story and speak more, because I know the impact that can have for people, and I know that that's a great space for me to explore. So the ideas are around, the risk is not taking the risk. The risk was to live a life where I felt I hadn't had true meaning, and that really scared me. And it still does, to think that I wouldn't have a life of meaning. So very often we hear people that inspire us say there's nothing different about them, they're not special. And it's so true. And I know I will be an inspiration to so many people as well, because people say it. I love your journey. I love what you share. It's so inspiring. I'd love to be where you are. But there's nothing special about me. And of course, we all have our own genius and our line of work, and we're tapping into our one thing. But if we honestly, truly want to be ourselves, we are the reason why we don't achieve what we want. We hold ourselves back from fear of rejection, uncertainty, judgment, self-doubt, fear of failure, or if you're anything like me, the fear of success scares me so much. We all have these fears. But there's some certain things that I see from these people that absolutely are smashing it. You know, they're successful, they're inspirational, aspirational, they're where we want to be. They are exactly what I say, like they epitomize success for us. So the three things that I see, and I'm going to share with you today around this idea of powerfully taking risks in business, is that they're consistent. They are so clear in the measures of success, and they focus on their one things, and they don't compare themselves against others. They only compare themselves against their own performance. You've got to be consistent. I've recently run a challenge this week with my personal development circle that I run, where we meet once a month and we talk all things personal development and link it back to business. Again, you're seeing the ideas here, strategy and performance mindset. And we spoke a lot around content strategy in March. And I said to them, right, I'm going to set you a challenge this week. Every single day, Monday to Sunday, and yes, I'm going to include Saturday, Sunday, I want you to be consistent and share one post on social media. Now, I roughly share about 3 posts a day if I can on social media, always one at 7 o'clock every morning. But I wanted them to be consistent. And a couple of things happened. Some of them have done it. Some of them have been bolder and done things like reels. They've done videos. They've got out there doing different things, getting in conversations with people and sharing that. Some have played it safe. Some have not shared too much, or they've spoken about someone else apart from their story. There's no right or wrong here. I just wanted to be consistent. But I also saw that, at the end, was it Saturday and Sunday? At the end. Now, there's no judgment in this, but the interesting part is that we will always do sometimes the bare minimum. And if you want to be out there, you've got to be consistent, and you've got to be doing above and beyond what everybody else is doing. You've got to be different. And the reason a lot of people get better opportunities than you feel you do is because they've done something different. They've done above and beyond. Okay. And that's exactly the same. When I looked at people that were speaking at the last few events, the reason they're there is because they asked to be there. They've done something different at some point in their career that got them that opportunity. They've made that happen. They've created their own luck, and they've gone out and done something different. And I absolutely think that's phenomenal, and that inspires me. And I can never knock somebody. And there's a couple of occasions where I heard people say, well, that could be me, or how did they get that opportunity? And I just think, for me, like I said, don't compare. All fair play to them. They've done something that I didn't do, or they've asked for more. So this is incredible, right? But I was at the event and the last few days, and I've invested in Sales Academy, I've invested in the Mastermind, I've done the retreat. I think most of the prizes that they do throughout the 2 days, which are incredible prizes, I was like, well, I've done them all. And guess what happened? I'm sitting there, and they do a song to get you back in the room for the next speaker, and then they'll do a raffle as such. So the nice spinny raffle thing's going, and I was like, go on, say Natalie Potts. And I was like, oh my God. Anyway, so Nick James laughing says, stand up. So I stood up. Goes, which price do you want? I said, well, I've done them all, Nick. Sounding absolutely arrogant as. But the reality was I've invested. And he spun the wheel and he said, what do you like to come up? And I said, well, I quite like the grenade bars, actually, because there's a pack of fitness grenade bars there. And he goes, the grenade bars. I said, yeah, because I've done it. So anyway, guess what happens? I only go and win the round table with Denise Duffield-Thomas, who was the headline speaker. And I was like, oh my goodness. I was like, boom. So look, I was blown away, and I wasn't giving it up. So I could have done a nice thing. But Nick also said at the start, I want you to do one thing these next few days, and I want you to be unapologetically selfish. So I was going to be that. I committed that to myself, not to him, to myself. So giving that up wouldn't be unapologetically selfish, right? So, and I knew that I would make the most out of that experience. So I then saw Nick after and said, "Oh, one of the prizes was to win a hug with Nick." And I said, "Oh, can I have the hug as well?" And he, told me to do one. But he then shared with me, he goes, "You invested in Marie Forleo, didn't you?" And I said, "Yes, I did." So at the previous event, I paid about 3K to meet Marie Forleo, a coach from America who has just inspired me so much in my career and the transition, leaving corporate to go into my own business, because she very, very much did exactly the same journey piece. So you can see why it was really inspired me. She was phenomenal. I honestly still say she's one of the best people I've ever met, and not everybody likes her, is aligned to her, but she blew me away. Her presence was phenomenal. Her content was grand, and the way she managed herself in the round table circle was just another level. It really was incredible. She was so articulate, so refined, said so much decorum, and I was blown away, so inspired. So to then go again, it was just like, I was meant to be there. That's what I truly believe. And one of my incredible friends also, she did the bold thing and went up to Denise on the day and said, "What have I got to do to be there?" And Denise said, "Come as my guest." And some people will hate that in us, but we've asked to be there. We've created an opportunity for ourselves. We've made our own luck. I didn't just win that in that way. Nick said to me, he goes, "I truly think there's something in it." He goes, "I'm just sure of it, that you invest huge in yourself and it pays off." All right. So it really does. People invest in themselves. It's the second one. I want to talk about consistency, investing in yourself. I am not shy that I've invested over £45,000 in the last 9 months in my own development. I left the corporate world with a strategy, an exit strategy. I had a plan. And I've continually invested to get my returns back in my business. And then I use those returns and the revenue I make to reinvest in myself, because you are the best investment you can make. Okay. When you trust that great things happen, when you surround yourself with like-minded people, it is incredible of the ripple effect that can happen. It's insane. So going to that event was amazing with Denise. And I also want to share what I did. I said to her, they said again, who's got a question, and somebody had just gone to kick off the discussion, and then nobody really did bring themselves to the table as such. So I was like, I'll go. So I said, "Hi, I'm Natalie. I'm business strategy, performance mindset mentor." And I said, "Look, I think you're incredible. You're incredibly refreshing in terms of respectful and humble. And I love that. So thank you." And I asked a question about when is money enough, because she's a money mindset mentor. And I said, I have a fear of success, etc. And she answered that. And then I picked it up and said to her, "I just want to put you on a spot. I listened to your podcast this morning. So congrats also on hitting 100 podcasts and 1 million downloads. Like, phenomenal." And I said, "Interestingly, I'm a maverick in my money archetype." That is her quiz that she has. So I'm very much about taking risks. That's what it's all about. And I'll look at opportunities and I'll make a decision, go for it, and I'll run with it. And then I also said to her, "At the end of your podcast, you said, if you've got a podcast or you do one," because it was all about creating a podcast, "hit me up and maybe I'll be a guest." And I said, "I'd love you to be a guest on mine." And she said, "Oh, right, okay." And I really felt that I put her on the spot. I've never felt as uncomfortable as I did in that room at that moment for a long, long time. Like in the last year, I don't think I've been uncomfortable. But it wasn't in a way where I felt like, "Oh, swallow me up, I don't want to be here." But it was just like I felt uncomfortable in a good way almost. So, well, yeah, for sure I did. And irrelevant whether I've done a follow-up with her team, etc., and I'll explore doing podcasts. That's absolutely relevant for me, actually. And I've seen that she's been a guest on actually quite a few people. So it's nothing different potentially for me out there. The biggest part for that for me was that I pushed myself out of my comfort zone. Irrelevant of the next stuff that happens, I felt uncomfortable, and I'm having to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. I asked a question that not a lot of people would, and that's the third part, asking. People that are successful in business, and it's stated that most businesses within the 3 years will fold. They ask, and I cannot emphasize how much this is important to you. If there is an opportunity to ask an event, go and do it. Put your hand up and be in that room, okay? Be the person to ask that question, because so many people don't do it. They're all sitting there thinking, I can't ask anything. And then they go at the end of the event and say, I really wish I'd done that. And I was not going to be leaving that room from Denise and not asking that question. I just had to think about how I did it. And there's certain elements where I felt a bit like, oh, that felt really uncomfortable to say. But I made a point, and I think plenty of people around that table were wishing that they'd have done that. You've got to be bold. You've got to be daring. You've got to be out there. You do it in a respectful way. And guess what? All of the failures that you have are going to bring more successes. I truly see now that the more I ask for things, the more no's I get will bring more yeses. And I know that's a crazy way of thinking about things, but you've got to get more no's. You've got to be connecting with people and them saying no to you to get the big yeses, okay? And it's the same with failures. Get more failures and you'll get bigger successes. So that's how I'm rounding this up today. Focus on the simple 3. Keep this super simple because we overcomplicate business. The power of taking risks in your business is around these areas. Asking for more, being consistent, and investing in yourself. You are what you attract. So you attract what you are. I'm going to get this right. You attract what you are. There's a power of repetition, right? The mother of learning. I think that's, again, another Tony Robbins thing. It's as simple as that. The risk is simply not taking the risk. And I'm so sure of that. Get out there, be bold, and do big things. You define everything you want for your business. So be bold in the direction that you take your business. Get out there and change the way you see things. Get in conversations with people and connect. It's an incredible place to be when you are. So I'm really hoping that offered a lot of insights for you. If you are wanting to really get a focus on your business, you're wanting to get a hold of having a clear strategy, a clear vision, and focus on your mindset with things that hold you back from taking big steps forward, then I want you to get in contact with me. Let's have a conversation. Let's get really focused on one thing that you can do to change the way your business is going right now. Okay, so all you got to do is send me a message at info@nataliepottscoaching.co.uk and we'll get some time in a diary and we will spend some time just looking at exactly one thing, one strategy you need to take that will change the direction of the business right now. Okay, so over to you. What are your reflections from this conversation today? And what are you going to do differently the next time you go to a connecting event?